He's been in the scene for a long time as well and is just here to represent. Round 15, you've made it this far. It's just a little bit more of a distance to climb to lock in that top 8 spot.
Both players at 10-2-2, looking to finish with that 11th win here. And it is going to be, a good old classic for this format, a Lugia mirror match.
We've been dodging it pretty much this entire weekend, I feel like. We've showcased a lot of Mew, a lot of the counters to Mew. It's so ironic that this deck that's kind of been around for so long has kind of crept back into the limelight as the deck to account for encounter, but Lugia is still strong, it's still consistent, and especially as the matches get narrowed down, we know that Lugia V-Star will naturally rise to the top.
And both of these players are playing kind of similar lists, of course, throughout these past few months. This deck has kind of whittled down to an essential 56 cards, and then you kind of figure out those last 4. Some of the 4 won't really matter in the mirror match, really. Both of these players cutting down on cards like Choice Belt, or I guess Julio's only playing 1, but Gaia is playing 2, so that's going to help him a lot in this matchup. The other cards, canceling Cologne, stuff like that, won't really help. And we'll have to see how things get going. But right now, we're going to start our round 15, last round of Swiss here in Charlotte.
Guy Bennett opening up with the Evolution Incense, a great card to begin with because you can grab that Archeops if you need it. Maybe Lugia V-Star if the hand is very, very good, but Oranguru so key to having the active for your first turn to bring the rest of your hand alive.
Yeah, it really kind of protects you against turn 1 Marnie from your opponent, being able to disrupt your hand. You can put that Lugia V-Star or Professor's Research on top of your deck after your turn's over, and then next turn, you already know what you're going to draw. It's going to be good.
Exactly. Being immune to that disruption, but also just being able to put those energies back, so incredible. And I think that one of the main themes, especially in the modern era of Lugia, can I even say that at this point? I feel like Oranguru has been so clutch. It's been the all-star of the make or break points of these key opening turns where establishing your primal turbos, your summoning star, etc. is so important, especially in the mirror.
And now with that Archeops grab, we don't see something like an Ultra Ball or anything like that. Might just have to attach an Aurora energy. Is there any way to get a Lugia V out? I don't think so.
No, Lugia V is a big miss here. We do have the Aurora energy at the very least to get an Archeops down, but now it's over to Julio. Opening with an Ultra Ball. Double Archeops Distraw. Oh, the forbidden Lugia opening. This is exactly what you want to see. We've got 2 Archeops in the discard pile. Now we just need a little bit of a something to put the rest of this turn together. What else do you even want to ask for here, Jeremy, as a Lugia player?
Honestly, yeah, you usually want to go first in this mirror. But when your opponent does not get a Lugia V down, it's essentially like you went first anyway. So being able to discard both those Archeops, and then next turn your opponent cannot play down a Lugia V-Star because you need the Lugia V down first. Then you're ready to go for your Summoning Star your following turn and get things going. And it's looking pretty good already here in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, you get a great advantage to be able to dictate the pace of the game from a position like this. This is Julio's first time being able to demonstrate his skill on the stream, and he's showing us a masterclass of how you want Lugia to operate. The Ultra Ball fetches out Oranguru, so both players on fantastic footing with the Oranguru, but having the double Archeops with the Lugia V in the active spot means that Julio is going to be in a much better position to just run away with this game, no doubt. Evolution Incense being placed back on top to make way for next turn in that Lugia V-Star.
Meanwhile, the hand for Guy is not good. 2 Aurora energies to go along with the one that you already had to waste on the active. That's not what you want to see, especially when it comes later in the game and you're trying to eye down that amazing destruction from Yveltal.
There is a Serena, maybe try to draw some cards here, but it's too risky. Just has to get rid of the whole hand with that Professor's Research I didn't quite see. 7 fresh cards, a new lease on life. This is where Guy Bennett needs to change his fate, grabs the Lugia V. I see a Choice Belt, but not much else happening here. The Lugia V is a sitting duck. It can't evolve this turn. We need the double Lugia V just to make sure we can get Summoning Star.
Exactly. This Rangaroo is going to have to put in a lot of work with the top card of the deck, and it's a Lugia V. All right.
Okay, a Rangaroo fulfilling the prophecy. I told you, Jeremy. This card comes in clutch. One more card to make a bad turn into a respectable one.
All right, let's just forget Guy's first turn happened. Let's forget who won the coin flip. It was actually Julio. And now we're continuing on with the game. We'll see how things go.
I know, this is the accelerated Lugia V-Star mirror here. The Evolution Incense finding the Lugia V-Star, of course. Get the Evolution and Summoning Star being activated. The two Archeops from the previous turn that were discarded with Ultra Ball coming onto the bench. Now we have Primal Turbo activated. Lumineon V also hitting the bench. Going to use that Luminous Sign to find a supporter card. Professor's Research being eyed down, but Boss's Order's a great pickup too.
Yeah, I believe there's already a Marnie or Professor's Research in the hand for Julio. Boss's Orders is going to bring up that Lugia V. You already have the knockout with both of those Primal Turbos, and you don't even need to waste powerful colorless energy. You can just take the knockout with 4 energy of any kind. If you get a double turbo, of course, you'll need that 1 at least.
Looks like a powerful is being eyed here. Taking account of the energies as well. This is going to be the first Primal Turbo. 2 powerful colorless energies being assigned to the Lugia V-Star. We just need a little bit more help. So how do you feel about the double powerful trying to offset the double turbo as a response here?
It's all right. You still can take a one-hit knockout on a Lugia V-Star later, but it kind of taxes your 1 choice belt in the deck.
Yeah, by getting rid of the double turbo here, it makes it a little bit clunkier to maybe set up Evital. But I think maybe Julio senses he's in a great position.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just putting the energies down and wants this Lugia V-Star to be a decent attacker into pretty much any situation. From this point, you're anticipating getting a knockout on Lugia V and probably having to knock out a Lugia V-Star in response.
And also, Julio saw Guy discard 2 Aurora energies with that Professor's Research. So you know that cards like the Raikou, which some people include, which I do believe Guy is playing it. You also have the Yveltal. Those are not going to be able to attack, really. You're going to have to rely on that Speed Lightning, Heat Fire, or the Hiding Dark, but that's a lot in combination.
And because of Guy's unfortunate start, is fully reliant on this Lugia V-Star now. Professor's Research after the equipment of the Choice Belt and the Evolution. And now we've got Ultra Ball, Archeops, and Drapion being sent to the discard pile. And a Summoning Star for Guy Bennett can come through here pretty soon. And when you're on the back foot, you need to be able to get the double Archeops to keep up. Already missing a little bit of energy, missing a lot of momentum. This is going to be a tough hill to climb, Jeremy.
Well, thankfully, with that, Ultra Ball gets the second Archeops in the discard. So Summoning Star will be able to bring out both of those fossil Pokemon and be able to use the Primal Turbo. You have that Choice Belt there. And one thing to note, there's no V-Guard energy on the opposing Lugia V-Star. So it's going to be pretty easy to knock out.
Once Julio's Lugia V-Star does go down, we only see a Lumineon on the bench right now that could be a potential attacker. Guys picking up the Raikou. There is Summoning Star as well. Finally, 2 Archeops coming from the discard pile onto the bench. We'll have some energy acceleration for Guy Bennett here in just a moment. So Lugia V-Star going to be reaching out and taking this knockout as soon as the energy is assigned and the attack is announced. And how does Julio respond to this? What's the best attacker, would you say?
Best attacker is probably going to be that Evital with its amazing destruction. Just take the knockout clean. Of course, you're going to have to kind of work around it a little bit. You'll need a pivot Pokemon. So all the Pokemon on Julio's side of the board do have a retreat cost. So you're going to need to work out at least an energy from hand, maybe. And with this, is there only... Okay, yeah, 2 powerful plus the Choice Belt will be able to take the knockout.
And even though it started to look pretty awkward at the beginning of the game, Guy Bennett does have potential here, right? Once you get the first knockout of the game, you force your opponent into that awkward position of having to scramble for the answer. But Evital, right off the top, hits the bench. We've got an Aurora Energy in hand, so it looks like the resources are all there still, Jeremy. Kind of working out the turn, has a quick ball as well to fetch something else to prepare that next attacker in the line. Dunsparce is going to be the discard here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Aurora Energy comes down before Julio plays something like the Marnie in hand. Marnie able to put the energy in your hand back into the deck and then draw cards from the top of your deck. It'll be interesting to see if he actually has stuff left. I don't
Yeah,
see
I'm only seeing one escape rope to get this Archeops out of the active, but then the Lugia V-Star just goes back onto the bench. It's not a good look.
And looking at the prizes, only the V-Guard energy was prized, which was pretty important for that opening Lugia V-Star. But from now on, won't be too much into the mix of things, especially with it being the top of the prizes.
Gotcha. And yeah, you can see this is pretty awkward. Here comes the Marnie at the very least. So this will be 5 cards for Julio. After the hands are shuffled, placed on the bottom of the deck. Julio is going to draw 5 cards. Guy Bennett will draw 4 cards.
Oh no, there was no energy found off of those 5 cards, and this is where it's a little bit risky.
Evolution Incense looking through the deck.
Still
and he was in such a good position, and now it's just starting to gum up.
Yeah, it still has the Primate Wisdom, so we could see another miraculous top deck from that Oranguru.
Oranguru, the hard carry, the unsung champion of Lugia V-Star with that Primate Wisdom.
We've seen it multiple times on stream, just hit that perfect card off the top.
And after the shuffle, after the cut, Julio Santos' fate is sealed. Primate Wisdom for 1 energy.
I think that does it. You get the energy, double Primal Turbo, get the double Turbo, and then your 3 Aurora energy. And that's going to be the knockout on the Lugia V-Star. Insane. Oranguru does it again.
Incredible. Oranguru delivering the card that you need hot and fresh to your doorstep. Really bringing this turn alive for Julio. Grabs the Heat Fire as well. So a little bit of a shortcutting here. You know, you Primal Turbo attached to, Primal Turbo attached to.
The players know what's going on.
Exactly. So just grabbing out all the energy, has the retreat on the Archeops, and now Evital with amazing destruction comes into the active, and Julio claims 2 prizes.
And this is where Guy would love to be able to use that Raikou and take a knockout, put some damage on the bench, maybe take a knockout on the bench, but that Manaphy is down on the board, and Guy doesn't have enough energy to possibly attack with it.
Oh, that's true. I forgot to call out the Manaphy with that Wave Veil ability, protects those benched Pokemon from taking damage from Raikou's amazing shot. So you have to respond to the Evital, but you can't get that additional value you need to keep up with the prize trade. Even if it's single prizers from here on out, Julio has pulled massively ahead.
Honestly, if there's still the Aurora left in the deck, I might like a Lumineon knockout here. Being able to Aqua Return, do 120, and then shuffle it back in, gets rid of the 2 prizer on the board that you would have to put down. Radiant Charizard is another great attacker, but you're kind of sacrificing it a little bit and just taking a knockout on the Evital.
The Lumineon would be a great target as well for Guy to take down, but you can't leave this Evital up with all of the energies already attached. If you have a powered-up Pokemon across the table from you, playing the Lugia deck, allowing them to just use the Primal Turbos to preset another attacker to take its place means that you just are losing on way too much momentum.
Oh, well, I was talking about Guy using a Lumineon, taking the knockout and then shuffling it back in.
That would be a fantastic play. I agree, Jeremy. But the bench is now full. Looks like Radiant Charizard's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting here.
The one problem, though, is you have that Lugia V on the bench. That is the last 2 prizes Julio would need to seal this game 1 up.
So after the Primate Wisdom, even if you retreat in a Radiant Charizard, it's weak to water. Aqua Return still will be able to get that knockout. Professor's Research coming through for Guy Bennett. Going to dig deep here. 7 more fresh cards to see if there's a new outlook on how this game looks to be shaping up. Double Evolution Incense thinning down even further.
Again, these discards have not been good to Guy. Just discarded so many energy, even had to discard the Speed Lightning. Granted, it won't really matter now because you've discarded all the other Auroras.
Yeah, there's just not enough resources now when the game gets to a state like this. Even if Guy Bennett puts together an attack for this turn, we know the Lugia is set up, the Radiant Charizard is set up, but you're locking yourself into and telegraphing such a specific line that Julio has plenty of time to play around it. Evital goes down, Radiant Charizard is in the active. Archeops is being promoted into the active spot for Julio. Just with 1 energy attachment, we can freely retreat that. Quick Ball coming through. So many cards left in Julio's deck, but you know, at this point, when all of the cards you need are already in play, that's all that you need.
This is going to be pretty bad here. The Raikou is getting charged up, and that's going to be an easy prize on Guy's Raikou on the bench, or even the Rangaroo. And just a simple boss's orders will be able to take the game here.
And there it is, fully charged up. There is the escape rope.
Oh no, that also does it. Every every Pokemon on Guy's bench gets knocked out by the Raikou, and then the other Pokemon's going to get knocked out on the bench, either the Rangaroo or the Raikou. That's game one.
Julio Santos de Leon cleaning it up here in the first game. It was looking so good, and then awkward in the middle game, and then come roaring back out to close this one out with a massive advantage. Very well played, and that was a Lugia mirror where even if one player was getting off to a kind of awkward start, you can still see the deck has a lot of potential to put up a fight.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of gameplay that I want to see here in Swiss Round 15.
And this is where it really mattered of missing that Lugia V turn one. You had the advantage going first, but not able to capitalize on it by having your attacker set up for the next turn.
And there's really not a lot of adaptation that needs to be made for this matchup. All of the tech and specific cards that these players brought are for other matchups. When it comes to the mirror, you just need to stick to Lugia V-Star game plan A and just execute it as best as you can. I have to give another additional shout out to the almighty Oranguru.
Oh yeah,
the primate
no,
wisdom.
Oranguru put in a ton of work that game. First for Guy finding that second Lugia V on the second turn so you can not just lose right up, and then Julio finding the energy off that Primate Wisdom after failing to find it off the Marnie.
It's so good, the Primate Wisdom. And, you know, it's been the card, right, that has kind of kept Lugia V-Star in it. If Oranguru was not part of these equations at all, there would be a bit of a bias, I think, against Lugia V-Star. We're like, oh, well, you know, if you don't set up on turn 1 or turn 2, then the deck is bad. But Oranguru just does so much to tie this list together. And it's not just about, I get to see one extra card and then pop off. It's also about putting those energies back in the deck.
Yes.
We saw how much that hurt Guy Bennett needing to discard those Auroras in the early game and the restriction it put on his later game attacking options.
Now talking about restriction for Guy's options, there is 2 Luminion V in the prize cards. That's not what you want to see, especially on the win-in for top 8.
Yeah, the Luminion being able to find that Professor's Research, that Boss's Orders is so clutch when you need it. And on the opposite side, Julio missing out on the Manaphy and the Radiant Charizard. So again, those defensive options and also a late game attacker not being available for his calculations at the start.
Now Guy starting a little bit better, has that Lugia V in the active spot, so you're pretty much guaranteed that if you have that V-Star, you're going to be able to get it out.
Attaches the Capture Energy, searching through the deck here for a basic Pokemon to put on the bench. And also going to take a deep look now. See that those Luminions are missing.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. This deck loves to be able to grab that Luminion off a Ultra Ball or Quick Ball, find that Boss's Orders on the turn you need it, find the Marnie when you need to disrupt your opponent, and the Guy's not going to have access to that, at least for a few turns.
The lack of attacking power was the theme of in the first game with the lack of Auroras, and now this game is going to be a lack of utility. The best players on any deck know how to pilot it when you're missing all of these different pieces, and you have to imagine that Guy Bennett has been in a position like this before. Oh, I don't have the Luminion Vs. I just need to be much more proactive with my game plan, right? If I just get set up normally, I won't maybe need Professor's Research as much. If I just get such an overwhelmingly dominant position, then I won't need Marnie. I won't need to disrupt my opponent's hand.
So even with the Lugia V and Capture Energy, Guy's hand and turn 1, pretty lackluster. No Archeops in the discard. And Julio's going to start things off by saying, hey, look what I got.
Quick Ball discards Archeops, already halfway there. Starting with Stoutland V in the active can be quite awkward, but we know Julio has that one copy of Escape Rope, which can be nice. And who knows, maybe the Stoutland V just kind of hangs out. It's another attacker that's great for the single prize matchups, can be great later on in the game to set it up with the powerful colorless energy and use that double dip Fangs. But this might be a situation where you might need the Stoutland to just be a wall and then give up those 2 prizes, and hopefully it buys you enough time to complete the rest of your setup.
Yeah, it's definitely very awkward. Lugia is a deck that does not play a lot of switching outs. Julio is opting for just 1 escape rope. Sometimes we see a bird keeper, but you're going to have to waste that now if you want to attack with your Lugia. And if you don't, this is going to be a free 2 prizes for Guy's Lugia V-Star next turn if possible.
Quick Ball grabs the Luminion, and Luminion grabs Irida. This gets you a water Pokemon and an item, so this is a great way, again, to find those specific cards you want and, thin through the deck. We know that the Manaphy is in the prizes. That would be a great pickup for this matchup, but decides to just grab an Ultra Ball and the second Luminion. Better than nothing. Again, just keeping your chain of guaranteed supporters is really important when you're trying to complete the foundation for your strategy.
This is just really unfair. Julio showing off both the Luminion Vs. Guy doesn't have any.
The Luminion Envy, indeed.
Geez.
And the Ultra Ball to discard 2 Archeops once more. The only saving grace here is that the Lugia V is entering play this turn. So this means that Guy Bennett does have some say in disrupting that summoning star power.
Cue the curtain call because this game looks over. Pretty insane turn 1 from Julio. We know the Lugia V-Star is in hand. And if Guy is unable to get Archeops in the discard next turn, we're going to see kind of the same parity we saw game 1 where, yeah, I went first, but I'm not able to capitalize on it.
That's always so dreadful to have this moment happen in your game where you can get such a massive advantage, but you just hadn't completed your homework prior and you can't reach out to capitalize. Lugia V's in the active. We evolve into Lugia V-Star, but no Archeops means no energy acceleration, means no attack. And this is also finding a way to get the Stoutland V out of the active to knock out that Lugia V to prevent Julio's setup.
Yeah, this is going to be a Professor's Research discarding the entire hand. There was a powerful Colorless Energy and an Aurora Energy.
Ooh, yeah, that is rough. It's not too bad. It is manageable after those 7 cards. An Evolution Incense is found, so we can grab the Archeops. Looks like it's being eyeballed here. And after that Archeops is found, taking a look through the deck, seeing what else is available. The Lugia V-Star deck, you have to evaluate it in a much more macro sense. Now that you have an idea of where your energies are, you're already considering which attackers are available. Ultra Ball discards only 1 Archeops here.
I'm not sure if I like the sequencing here. You still have access to Primate Wisdom. Maybe try to just get that miraculous top deck one more time in that second Archeops.
Yeah, and double Turbo Energy also entering the discard pile takes away a lot of utility as well. So Guy Bennett just, in a repeat of the first game, kind of fumbling to complete the setup for Lugia V-Star and having to sacrifice a lot of important resources on the way to that goal. Second Lugia V being put onto the bench with the Evolution. Summoning Star for only 1 Archeops. This is very rare, Jeremy, that we see this.
Oh, no, there is 2.
Oh,
okay.
There was 2?
Wait, it was at the very back of the hand with the research.
Okay.
You know, when you discard 7 cards with research, sometimes they don't show.
Okay, that's a fun
little bit better now.
jump
We're good.
scare for the audience. The second Archeops was there all along, so this turn was looking pretty rough, but the setup is complete. We have the attachments now with Primal Turbo to the Lugia V-Star, but I still have to call it out, Jeremy, that Guy Bennett's missing a lot of energy from this point.
Yeah, 3 in the discard. Thankfully, it's not 3 Aurora Energies like game 1, but still has to work around a little bit with these attacks. You see him eyeing down all of those capture energies. It's probably going to be the best just to get on that Lugia and take the knockout with your Tempest Dive. And from there, you can kind of save the rest for the rest of your attackers.
So Primal Turbo 1 grabs 2 capture energy. In Primal Turbo number 2, needs to find 1 more option. You can see Guy has to evaluate what energies are remaining. So it's just going to be 4 capture energies to pay for that Tempest Dive attack.
Capturing our hearts 1 energy at a time.
Stoutland V is going to go down here, take 2 prizes. That's fine. And now Julio has kind of weathered the storm. The Lugia V has survived on the bench. He can get his Evolution and then bring those Archeops up onto the bench with the Summoning Star ability. There's an Aurora Energy attached for turn, discarding Lugia V. Raikou being set up to take over.
Much better setup from the previous game for Guy here.
So 2 prizes taken.
Somehow missed both those Luminion.
Terrible shave. He's the vertical prize card gamer. Very rare, but you do see it from time to time. And after that evolution in Lugia V-Star, Julio's going to activate Summoning Star to bring Archeops down. We still have Luminion V as a potential attacker. And after the Primal Turbo, you can see there is a stronger plethora of energy in the deck for Julio to take advantage of the powerful colorless energy already being pulled to the front to be assigned. And we're going to have some Lugia V-Star on V-Star violence.
And one big thing that is missing from Guy Bennett's list is that V-Guard energy, being able to reduce the 30 damage from your opponent's Pokemon V. If that was here, it would force the Choice Belt from Julio. But since there's no Choice Belt, these 3 powerful colorless energies able to take enough, or do enough damage to take the knockout.
The V-Guard energy is a very interesting inclusion in this list because it's so important in the mirror. Forcing that Choice Belt, forcing your opponent to overextend with the powerful colorless energy onto their Lugia V-Star means that you're a little bit more resilient to perhaps Stoutland V in the late game. But we've got to make cuts here and there when we're looking to counter other decks in the format. Julio's topping off this turn with a Marnie. Hand goes back down to the bottom 5 cards. The Professor's Research is going to be a great setup for later, and Raikou also being presented.
Would have really loved to find a Dunsparce or the Manaphy, but of course we knew the Manaphy was in the prize cards. And this Raikou from Guy is going to be putting in a ton of work with that amazing shot attack.
There's enough energy in the deck to do it, and Primal Turbo is going to bring those out of the deck and attach them immediately. 2 Aurora Energy and the Speed Lightning will pay for this beautiful, amazing shot attack, so we can get the knockout and then snipe something on the bench for 120 damage.
Well, we are still missing the Choice Belt for the knockout on that Lugia V-Star, but with the Professor's Research in hand, Guy is looking to draw into it with those 7 cards.
Just asking how many cards in hand. For the Lugia V-Star mirror, you can see you're constantly not only tracking your own resources, but your opponent's as well. Has the Choice Belt in hand. Another jump scare.
Just
he
how we
had
like
it all along.
Yeah.
And the Primate Wisdom, hasn't really been employed a lot by Guy Bennett. He's been just getting the cards he already needs, wants to save the cards in hand. There's nothing that really wants to be put back onto the top.
Well, it was pretty good because we saw him put the Professor's Research on top last turn. But when you draw the Choice Belt anyway, you don't need to play it. You could just play the Marnie that you drew.
And after that supporter comes through, a little bit more disruption as well.
Here's the Quick Ball.
Okay, grabs Radiant Charizard. So again, a lot of attackers now being set up. Guy Bennett struggled to complete the setup, but fortunately saved just enough special energies and resources to get enough here. Has enough special energies to power up all these remaining attackers. Marnie goes to the discard pile after the cut. And a beautiful attack takes down Lugia V-Star. 2 prizes going to Guy Bennett here in game number 2 of Swiss Round 15. It's looking very close, Jeremy. We could very easily see game 3.
Yeah, honestly, I think we might. Julio will be able to put together a turn that can take the knockout on the Raikou and then put the Luminion V back in the deck with Aqua Return. That's going to force Guy to take 2 more knockouts to finish this game up. But Julio will just be left with those 2 Archeops and then possibly a Radiant Charizard.
Right. In the hand prior, Julio had the Raikou in hand, but did not bench it before taking his knockouts. And then Guy was able to shuffle that back in with the Marnie. So I'm not seeing if there's actually a follow-up attacker here after this Aqua Return. It's just going to be Archeops versus the world. Pumpkaboo.
Well, hey, there's an attacker. 20 damage for 2 energy is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that Stampede, baby.
No, you're definitely just bringing it up, having it take a hit from this Lugia V.
Yeah, it's a great way to buy some time, protect the Archeops, but now you can see Julio running out of attacking pressure. Guy Bennett just firing on all cylinders can capitalize on this massively. Lugia V-Star now into the active spot, Primal Turbo to attach. There's 2 powerful colorless energies on the Lugia V-Star already, and there's the double turbo. This Pumpkaboo is going to have to take one for the team. It's going to be 1 more prize going over to Guy Bennett.
Whew, yeah, and the Radiant Charizards and the prizes for Julio. This has been a rough go about for this game, and bringing up the Archeops with no damage on it with that boss's orders is going to really limit the options Julio has next turn.
Yeah, after this Archeops goes down, not only is there a damaged target for that final prize, you're also having less energy acceleration to prepare an attacker to respond effectively to this. One more prize remaining for Guy Bennett. Julio, top decks, Lugia, V-Star. There's nothing in the hand that can help from this position. Looks like we're going to a game 3 here shortly.
Well, he does have an out, and that is attacking with the Raikou, being able to get that choice belt, and then take a knockout on the Ringaroo on the bench. Ooh. That's going to require an energy attachment from hand, which would need an Aurora Energy or the Speed Lightning to be able to have that requirement, but you also need a way out of the active spot, and I don't think you have enough resources to be able to do that, especially I think the escape rope, no, he still has escape rope left, but that's going to push Lugia to the bench, and then you're just not going to be able to win.
Mm-hmm. So after the Ultra Ball is activated, looking through the deck can grab the Raikou, but again, with only one Archeops, the hand has to do a lot more heavy lifting. There's just a heat fire. And has to concede, doesn't have the tools necessary to complete that play. There was still, even from a position like that, the fact that he had a line says a lot about the power level of Lugia V-Star.
And honestly, I think he probably could have got there if Guy didn't have that boss's orders. Being able to boss's orders, bring up that Archeops, means you don't have that free pivot with the second Primal Turbo energy.
And if you are thinking that far ahead, right, I wonder if Guy calculated that specific line. Like if Raikou comes down, then I'm really in trouble. Just knowing, hey, I'm not going to take the knockout you want me to with the Pumpkaboo. I need to still pick my own targets in this matchup, neutralizing that Archeops.
Hey, well, if you have it, you might as well use it, you know? Bringing up that Archeops is usually the name of the game against a lot of Lugia V-Star decks when it gets to that point. You have no energy in play, your attackers are kind of limited, might as well get rid of your energy acceleration.
And we've seen, I think, both sides of the coin now, Jeremy, where we've got some awkward starts, some really fantastic comeback plays in the mid-game, missing out on Luminions, missing out on Manaphy's. When it comes to your opening hand quality and prize cards, there's very few matchups that can shift so violently around what strategy you must employ when you consider those types of factors. And my hope for game number 3, as always, is that both these players get off to a fairly even start. We get a nice amount of back and forth. Both these players have a lot on the line, trying to fight for their round 15 winning in. It's a double mulligan here.
Good way to start off. Wasting a little bit more time. 18 minutes left in this game 3 here. Remember, winner will make it into top 8, most likely, as long as all the math works out. Loser, top 16, maybe top 32. Still a great accomplishment. Over 1,100 players here this weekend. Tie, both players don't want that. And they don't want that to happen at all.
18 minutes left on the clock. There is still plenty of time to conclude this match for certain. There can be a lot of sequencing per turn, but once they get set up and start attacking, the game, you can see, comes to a very violent conclusion indeed. And just to refresh my memory, Jeremy, if both players mulligan, neither of them get the additional cards.
Exactly, yeah. Ooh, the Ringaroo in the prizes along with that Yveltal there and an Aurora Energy. Not what you want to see for game 3.
Yeah, the Orangaroo means that you've got to go all on your own merits to complete the setup. A lot of special energy in the prizes for Julio.
Listen, Adam, you had a chance not to curse this game 3, but somehow you still made it out.
Guy, I think, kind of suffered the most from having awkward things prized, and it was only natural that it would even out with Julio here. The Manaphy being prized was really unfortunate in game number 2.
Going to start things off here with a quick ball Archeops. It's not Ultra Ball double Archeops, but we'll take it.
Radiant Charizard in the active spot. This is also a very awkward Pokemon to have in your active because that Excited Heart ability is nowhere near online, and Radiant Charizard has a massive retreat cost. If this goes down in the early game, you don't have that beautiful, flexible late game attack with that Combustion Blast. Lugia V is grabbed off of Quick Ball after Julio took a deep look in the deck, understands what the situation is, where all those special energies fell, and has to already calculate a line from here. Missing 2 Aurora energies in a double turbo means that Evital is most likely out of the running, and we're playing mostly all towards Lugia, V-Star, and Raikou to carry this one.
Yeah, and even starting the Radiant Charizard, that is one of your attackers that can utilize just one of those Aurora energies and be able to do massive amounts of damage. And maybe see something like an Escape Rope to bring it out of the active, but that's going to be asking for a lot from Julio next turn.
That is true. Julio Santos does run the one Escape Rope that we really haven't seen come through. It has been very awkwardly timed where you want to use the Escape Rope for your active, but you need your opponent to keep their thing in the active. So Escape Rope versus Switch, who knows which one is better.
Well, and also the Escape Rope Irida argument versus Birdkeeper, because you can Luminous Sign for the Birdkeeper, make it pretty easy. You don't have to switch your opponent's active, but for the Escape Rope, you have to Luminous Sign for the Irida, play your supportive for the turn to grab that Escape Rope, and you're not getting any extra cards from drawing 3 cards or anything like that. It's going to be a little bit awkward, and
yeah, Guy Bennett once again responding with the double Lugia V start. Means that if there is any sort of aggressive response to this turn, you always have that backup of Lugia V being able to use that Summoning Star ability. And I don't know. I don't think there was any Archeops discarded this turn for Guy. Just one?
At least one. Especially that with the Evolution Incense. Possibly 2.
All right. I didn't want to get jump scared again. My heart can't take it, Jeremy. And just thinking, where do I put this energy for the turn? Do I want to put it on the active? Do I want to put it on the bench? Or pass? That is a third option. So after the deck is cut, we're back over to Julio Santos. It's Pumpkaboo. Not really going to do much here. Lugia V-Star being evolved, but we need more Archeops. There's Professor's Research. 7 cards to really take over this game. Let's see it, Jeremy.
Yeah, a little bit awkward. I think Guy had a Lumineon V that was searched out, maybe, so could have continued the turn, opted not to, and just waited to see what Julio will be able to do here. But something like a Marnie could be pretty disruptive, not even attaching an energy for the turn.
Archeops grabbed and then discarded with Quick Ball. We know that Raikou is a potential option if you want to be aggressive in this matchup, but Julio just stabilizing the position with Manaphy instead, just cutting off Guy's aggressive options. Once you have the Summoning Star here, gets both Primal Turbos now onto the bench, Heat Fire attached to the Radiant Charizard, and if we get 4 energies, we can get Combustion Blast after all.
Might as well, it's in the active, use what you got.
It's a lot of energy to put onto the single prize attacker, but still, Guy Bennett anticipating some sort of line from here, has benched a second Lugia V, can still respond with the evolution, and after 2 capture energies and a double turbo energy comes through, Combustion Blast still will be hitting for 230 damage, exactly what Julio needs to claim the first 2 prizes of game number 3.
This has been such a great start from Julio without even or I guess he did play the Professor's Research. I was going to say without a supporter, but the Professor's Research got this hand together.
Yes. The Oranguru not showing up for this game. He was the training wheels for game 1 and game number 2, but now these players have to go out on their own here for game number 3 and really show what they're made of. Lugia V-Star immediately being evolved. Summoning Star bringing 2 Archeops onto the bench for Guy Bennett. 2 Primal Turbos will allow a fantastic response to the Radiant Charizard, but hey, as long as it gets 1 attack, you're pretty much ready to go with double turbo. And only 1 Heat Fire being expended for this attack means that Julio does have a lot of resources still left, and we know that 1 Aurora energy was grabbed off of the prizes.
That is true.
If a Marnie is coming through from Guy Bennett to get some hand disruption, if a Oranguru is potentially found for the bench, we can put that back in and keep our train of attackers up and running.
So Guy does have that Luminion V in hand, but also drew a boss's orders for the turn. So I think we're seeing him decide what the actual route of victory here is, and maybe even attacking with Luminion this turn to knock out the Charizard.
And after Luminion V is used, the Luminous sign to look for a supporter, add that to the hand. That could be a strong option, right? You're keeping the Lugia V-Star in the active because it's a much better carrier for those double turbos and the choice belts to get a bigger attack later. If we're kind of trying to get a read on Guy Bennett's prize map, you know, Radiant Charizard goes down, Lugia V-Star goes down, and then once you've pulled ahead with those 3 prizes, it means that Julio Santos can't put down a lot of 2 prizes from that position because keeping up with the prize trade maybe stops being an option.
Well, at least for right now, Julio does have the advantage there. Took 2 prizes on the second turn and is forcing Guy, at least right now, to just take 1 off this Radiant Charizard. If you don't, it's going to come right back to the active, try to take another big knockout.
Because this is already powered up, just using boss's orders to get rid of the Manaphy or the Lugia V-Star, trying to set up something cheeky for a future turn is not viable. First Primal Turbo's finally being used. You can see Guy Bennett struggling with every single play. There's so much riding on every decision here. 10 minutes left on the clock. Game number 3, Swiss round 15 winning in. This is where the pressure begins to mount. And if you let it get to you, you're going to start making some silly mistakes.
A lot of prize money on the line, a lot of packs, and of course, the title and the medal of regional champion. Both these players are trying to make that dream come alive here on the winning in 4 top 8 in game 3. Guy is down these 2 prizes, but is looking to charge up that Lugia V-Star.
Luminion V will remain on the bench then. It is 2 prizes. It's still a big liability. However, the Aqua return is still going to be a fantastic option to get a knockout on a single prizer and get a nice pivot. Boss's orders to bring up Archeops. Guy Bennett says, okay, I have the Lugia V-Star. I can survive against the Combustion Blast.
Yeah, I don't know if you can survive against another Lugia V-Star attack, though.
Again, without the V-Guard energies, it means that it's a lot easier for Julio to respond. And after the Charizard was put back onto the bench and back into the active, we can still use that Combustion Blast back-to-back. Primal Turbo being used now, searching through the deck. And this is where Julio also has to be very careful about assigning these energies. A lot are attached to this Radiant Charizard, an attacker that normally only takes 1 energy to claim a knockout in the later stages of the game has been forced to be fully decked out with 5 energies. So a lot of resources are going to be missing if this game drags on.
So with the way Julio's been playing this hand, it makes me think there's a boss's orders coming through. Mostly because if you have the energy, you bring up the Lugia V-Star, attach the energy, grab those 2 powerful colorless energies, take the knockout on the Lugia V-Star. With this, you can boss's orders the Luminion V, take the knockout with that Radiant Charizard, and then you have that Lugia V-Star set up next turn to take the knockout on Guy's Lugia. And you know by now Guy doesn't play V-Guard energy, so you're pretty safe.
And then to tie it all together, Quick Ball does find the Oranguru, just offering a little bit more utility, a little bit more of a angle to seal the deal on this 3rd game.
Showing up fashionably late to the game 3.
Exactly. You've got to show the master who has been mentoring you and delivering the missing card for all of your plays this whole time that you're able to do it on your own. And it would be a massive flex to not even use the Primate Wisdom just for the sake of the setup. But of course, you've got to use this powerful ability. 1 more card, Choice Belt.
Yeah, that would have been a pretty good card to knock out the Lugia V-Star if the double turbo wasn't attached to that Radiant Charizard, but you have pretty much everything here. I think maybe attaching the Choice Belt to the Lugia V-Star on the bench would be a great option. A lot of these Lugia lists, especially with Utrecht and stuff like that, have been cutting Lost Vacuum. And looking at Guy's list, there's no Lost Vacuum.
So after the attack for 2, Julio's doing this is what happened in game number 2, right? Had the Raikou, kept it in the hand, didn't want to just put it down on the bench without attacking with it. And now has the choice belt in the hand. This might get disrupted by a Marnie, maybe taking some of the sting out of this Lugia V-Star's upcoming attack. There's 2 powerful colorless there now, and there's 1 in the prizes, and I'd have to quickly double check the math. Do we need 3?
We need 3, yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the 4th one is in the deck. And if not, Guy still needs a little bit of cards. We might not see a Marnie this turn, especially because that would be playing down a Luminion V, which is an easy KO if Julio doesn't have the extra damage modifier.
So the checkmate here is simply, you can't Marnie me because it's just not a good play, so I can keep this in the hand as a surprise factor.
And
Primate
looking at Guy's
Wisdom.
hand too, it is not that good. Double Professor's Research and a couple energy.
So putting 1 card from the hand onto the deck, seeing 1 more card is going to be a huge difference between victory and defeat from this position. Guy Bennett studying all of the lines of play. What was grabbed? I don't even see it.
Boss's Orders was on the top of the deck. So found that off that Primate Wisdom. Now has the option to maybe Boss's Orders yet again. But you're going to have to put all your powerful colorless energies on this Lugia V-Star to take that knockout and have a choice belt.
To it.
Yeah. I don't think the choice belt is there. So because of the V-Guard energy that Julio put on last turn with that 1 Primal Turbo, is going to have this Lugia V-Star stick around. And I think that spells doom for Guy.
Unbelievable that this unassuming energy card has such a powerful implication for the mirror match. A lot of Lugia players think so much, kind of tried to boil down the matchup to, oh, you just want to go first, oh, you want to go second. If you don't get set up turn 1, turn 2, then your opponent would just win. And now, as both players have responded to the back and forth of this best of 3, it all comes down to the ways you can force your opponent to have very specific resources at that key moment. And it all hinges on V-Guard energy.
So I think we're going to possibly see the retreat to an Archeops, maybe try to take the knockout on the Radiant Charizard. But one thing to keep important as well, that Heat Fire energy adding 20 extra HP. Radiant Charizard now is 180. Archeops is doing base 120, I believe. So with 2 powerful colorless energies, you're doing 160. That's not going to be enough.
And a Professor's Research comes through. In these 7 cards also hold an additional answer. There's a choice belt.
Don't need that.
Yeah, it's not going to help you here. Plus 20 HP, being able to employ these specific plus HP here, reducing damage there. It's adding up to so much awkwardness for Guy Bennett to capitalize on the Pokemon he needs to knock out. And when you're the Lugia player and you have 2 Pokemon that are already set up without the need of Primal Turbo, so they can just pivot into the next one and keep up this cascading momentum, you're in a grand position. Game number 3, Julio Santos de Leon, 2 prizes away from claiming victory, 4 minutes left on the clock. Guy Bennett scrambling, looking through any possibility and leaving no stone unturned for a way to bring this game back. Has only taken 1 prize card so far and has to just run over Julio Santos' entire board, and I don't know if it's possible.
Oh no, please don't forget about that Heat Fire.
The 2 powerful and an Aurora to activate Speedwing.
All right, we got the last one.
One more
attached
Primal Turbo.
There we go. Now with that 3rd powerful colorless energy, Speedwing will be able to take the knockout on the Radiant Charizard. But this means all Julio needs to win is a Boss's Orders, has the choice belt in hand, has the powerful colorless energy in the deck if you want. Is there Luminion left? There is. All right, so Ultra Ball in hand. You can fetch that Luminion. Luminous Sign for the Boss's Orders if it's still left. And I think Julio's going to punch the ticket into top 8 potentially.
Beautifully done. There's the powerful colorless, the choice belt attached. Ultra Ball, discarding Professor's Research into double turbo energy, finds the Luminion V into Boss's Orders to take down Lugia V-Star. Julio Santos wins round 15.
What a showcase of the Lugia mirror match. able to win both of the games, going second, game 1 and 3. And Julio now at 35 match points, hoping to make it into that prestigious top 8, and from there, try to become the Charlotte Regional Champion.
Over 1,000 players at this event. Lugia V-Star is a deck that so many players brought, so many players believed in. It was a list that had a big target on its back, but not necessarily for this event. You weren't expecting perhaps this many mirror matches, but this is certainly the most well-timed one. If you're on Lugia, of course, if you can beat out other Lugia players to claim your spot, you know that the time and testing that you put in for this deck is paying off.
Yeah, well, it's 30% of the field here in day 2.
Very true.
You're going to run into a few of them, at least, if you're hoping to make it through all the way to that top 8. And Julio did just that, and putting on a masterclass in that mirror match. Just perfect numbers all the way, having the boss's orders when you need it, and just you can't write it up any better.
Yeah, having the tech for other matchups that don't seem relevant for the Lugia mirror was kind of our expectation going into that best of 3. And as